I can't actually remember truthfully which one, but I bet it was P&P. And I should think I would have read it about the time I read Jane Eyre, so probably about 12 or 13. Because, you know, for those of us growing up before television, we tended to read rather earnestly, rather early. And I'm sure it would have been that I started with. And the thing about Jane Austen is that there's a novel for every age, and most people end up with Persuasion. It's not like writing another James Bond in the manner of Ian Fleming. It's a reimagining in a modern author's voice, Jane Austen's people and Jane Austen's characters. So it's a completely different, much more fresh idea. And they had sort of got Sense and Sensibility in their minds, I think. So I was approached and asked if I would like to do it. And it was one of those ideas where, you'd almost said yes before they'd finished the question. It was fantastically seductive. I was asked. And I was the first person asked. So it was very bowling over altogether. She's like a really good melody. You know, if you take a really wonderful tune, I mean, something like, we think, something everybody knows, like Summertime from Porgy and Bess, you can syncopate that, you can transpose that, you can do whatever you like to that, but it's still that melody. And it's the same really with Jane Austen. You can't stop it being essentially a Jane Austen, which is completely right. I felt she was a sort of benevolent shadow over my shoulder, but if you read her letters, there's a huge reservoir of wit and mischief and merriment in there. I think she'd think it was a really good joke. And she'd love the fact that millions and millions of people are adorers now. I bought a paperback and I cannibalized it. I went through it I read it 2 or 3 times, and then I went through it with a highlighter pen, picking out all the bits of dialogue and all the crucial bits of narrative that I was going to use in mine. So I've stuck to the narrative like paint, her narrative. Of course, because it's 2013, some people have to have jobs. You know, money is a different matter. But the preoccupations of money, class and romantic love are the same in 1811 and 2013. They're exactly the same. So, for example, Willoughby doesn't have a horse, he has an Aston Martin, you know, that kind of thing. And the classic scene where Willoughby dumps Marianne in public, somebody obviously films that on their phone and then posts it. I'd love it to be a sort of shoehorn, because the aim is to get everybody reading the canon of the Sacred Six. But early 19th century English is quite difficult for people used to the language, say, of Twitter. So this is a kind of introduction, and then you can get on to the richness and the subtlety of the real thing. But I think there's a whole generation, particularly of young women, who, because of the movies and the television adaptations, they think they know Jane Austen, but they haven't actually read the real book. So this is kind of Jane Austen light, if you like, and then you can read the real thing. The psychology and the social nuance are as exquisite as anybody in any language has ever written. The delicacy of her social perceptions are quite extraordinary, just with the smallest flick. I mean, even in Sense and Sensibility, she's very sorry for Marianne with her broken heart, but she teases her all the way through. You know, this is really an absurd way to behave. And the world, she's saying to Marianne, the world, my darling, doesn't revolve entirely around you.